today, you're not just watching a video. You are stepping into a power marathon, a Machiavelli journey that will last for hours. This is a test of the mind. Those who endure to the end rise above the weak majority who always quit halfway. You will learn how to forge an unbreakable will, how to speak like Machiavelli, how to build a mental fortress that cannot be shattered, and how to destroy the 5 toxic habits that have ruined millions of lives. If you are brave enough, sit down, turn off every distraction, and enter this training ground. Because from this moment on, comfort ends, and domination begins. Imagine, one night, you lose everything. The one you love turns away, your job disappears, your friends go silent. No one knocks on your door to warn you. Life just smashes you in the face and leaves you sitting in the dark, gasping for air, asking yourself, why me? The brutal truth is this: life doesn't care how many nights you've cried, how many times you've collapsed. It doesn't come to comfort you, it comes to test you. And when the blow lands, most people shatter. They reach for alcohol, for social media, for a comforting embrace. But Machiavelli would say, the world does not reward the weak. It only respects those who rise from the ashes. Hearing this, ask yourself, if you lost everything tonight, what would you choose? To live in comfort or to step into control? The moment you think it's over is actually the beginning, because only when everything disappears do you finally meet your true self. Remember the Roman general who lost his entire family in war. He could have collapsed, but instead, he stood tall, hiding his tears so his legion wouldn't fall apart. That wasn't coldness, it was iron discipline. And it was that discipline that made him remembered as a leader, not a broken man. Have you ever thought that time doesn't really heal wounds? Time only gives you 2 choices. Either let the wound keep bleeding, or forge it into steel that sharpens your mind. Healing is not about forgetting, it's about staring straight at the scar and asking, what is this training me for? So ask yourself, will you continue living as a victim, or will you rise as the ruler of your own mind? If you truly feel this, write it down right now. Pain sharpens my power. And share. When was the last time pain forged you? Because once you turn collapse into discipline and pain into rebirth, no force in this world will ever be able to break you again. Have you noticed that whenever people get hurt, they usually run to seek comfort? Some bury themselves in loud music. Some drown in a bitter glass of alcohol. Some can't let go of their phone, scrolling for hours just to forget the fire burning inside. Comfort, that temporary ease, it paralyzes you with the illusion that you're fine. But the brutal truth is this: comfort is the trap that kills greatness. The weak always run to comfort. They beg for sympathy. They want to hear the words, "It's okay, this will pass." But what really passes? The opportunity for them to grow. The strong are different. They don't seek comfort. They seek control. Imagine a boxer knocked down in the ring. The weak will sit on the floor, waiting for arms to console them. But the strong will rise, eyes bloodshot, bleeding but fists clenched tight. They don't need someone to lift them up. They need control. And it is that control that allows them to survive the next punch. In the modern world, comfort wears more subtle disguises. A single click to open Netflix, a bag of snacks at midnight, a string of meaningless messages to someone who no longer loves you. You call it relief, but in reality, you're just avoiding. And every time you choose comfort, you give away a piece of your mental power. When you don't control your mind, someone else will control it for you. Let me ask you, in the past week, how many times did you choose comfort over control? And how much power did you lose because of it? If you want to be different, you must train. When pain strikes, don't run for distraction immediately. Sit down and write 3 things you're feeling. When you crave comfort, pause for exactly 60 seconds. In those 60 seconds, breathe deeply and ask, do I truly need this, or am I just running away? And each morning, write down one single line. Today, I choose control, not comfort. It may sound simple, but try it for 7 days. You will notice you're no longer the same. Instead of reacting out of habit, you begin to control your reflexes. And that is the dividing line between a fragile mind and a mind that cannot be broken. Machiavelli once said, "The highest form of power is not ruling others, but ruling yourself." When you control your emotions, you separate yourself from the weak majority. You become dangerous, because no one can manipulate you with emotional games. Here's your challenge. In the next 24 hours, watch yourself closely. The moment you seek comfort, stop and write down one single line. Comfort kills growth. Control builds power. From this moment on, pain is no longer the enemy, but an ally in the path of forging mental strength. Have you ever let emotions control every decision you make? One insult makes you lose your temper. One unanswered text keeps you awake all night. And then you realize, emotions held the reins, and you were just the horse being dragged along. The truth is this: you are not weak because you got hurt. You are only weak when you let emotions steal your clarity. The moment you hand power to your emotions, you become the easiest prey. Others know exactly which button to press, which word to use to make you explode the moment you will collapse. Stop for 1 second and ask yourself, in the past week, has anyone pressed the right emotional button to manipulate you? Machiavelli saw this clearly 500 years ago. He wrote that a ruler cannot let the heart lead because emotion is the knife at the throat of power. Whoever lets emotion take control surrenders their crown to someone else. But turning into a lifeless stone is not the solution. What you need is emotional discipline. You still feel, still hurt, still grieve, but you don't react immediately. You place yourself behind the wheel, not the storm inside. Look at a general who lost his son on the battlefield. The entire army waited for him to collapse. But instead of weeping before thousands of soldiers, he stood firm, lifted his head high, and commanded them to march forward. He knew, if emotion surfaced, the legion would crumble, and that price was too great to pay for a single moment of weakness. Or in modern life, an entrepreneur steps onto a stage after losing millions in business. The weak will cry, apologize, or blame. But the strong speak calmly. We have a plan. This is the next step. That composure makes them trusted, feared, and respected. Try these 3 strategies. The 5-second rule. Whenever you're about to explode, pause exactly 5 seconds and ask, does this reaction serve my interests or only my emotions? Let tears fall, but only behind closed doors. Out there, you are disciplined, and whenever you want to argue, write this down. If I stay silent now, they lose control. Remember this: people will call you cold when you no longer react the way they want. They'll say you've changed, that you're no longer predictable. But that is not loss, that is power. Your silence will confuse them. Your calmness will disorient them, and your discipline will strip them of every weapon to control you. If you are truly ready to step into this level, carve it deep as a mark. My control is my revenge. From this moment on, you no longer prove yourself with screams. You prove yourself with cold silence, but this is only the outer layer. Because there is a battlefield even more dangerous. Not the emotions that flare up instantly, but the story you are telling yourself. If you don't learn to rewrite it, you will remain forever the victim in someone else's novel. There is a brutal truth. Most people are not truly destroyed by the event itself, but by the story they tell themselves afterward. A betrayed lover whispers, "I am not worthy of love." A man who fails at work repeats, "Life is always against me." And over the years, the story they repeat turns into destiny. Machiavelli once wrote, "Power does not lie in truth, but in how you control perception." If you wear the label of a victim, do not be surprised when the world treats you only as a failure. Look at an entrepreneur who went bankrupt at 30. He could brand himself a failure, avoiding risk for the rest of his life. But instead, he chose to tell a different story. I just learned $1 million lesson that most people take a lifetime to understand. Rewriting his story gave him the strength to rise, build a new company, and become a millionaire. The same event, but two entirely different outcomes. And what about you? What story are you telling yourself? The story of someone abandoned, or the story of a warrior being forged? Try this simple exercise. Every time you face a crisis, write 3 lines. 1. What happened? 2. What I learned. 3. Who I will become because of it. Erase from your inner dictionary the words, why me? And replace them with, what is this preparing me for? And when someone asks about failure, don't say, I went bankrupt. Say, I am learning how to rebuild from zero. Same data, but when you change the tone, you change your destiny. People will try to remind you of the past, to keep you trapped in the same old box. They will say, I remember the day you collapsed. Smile, because they are speaking to a version of you that has been dead for a long time. The one sitting here now is someone else. Colder, sharper, far more dangerous. Stop and ask yourself, are you the one allowing the past to survive? Every time you call yourself a victim, you are feeding the wound instead of burying it. If you are ready to close the old chapter, engrave this declaration into your memory. I killed the old me. I walk as the weapon. Once you erase the victim role, you don't just rewrite the story, you rewrite the future. But be careful, because the moment you escape the shadow of the past, another enemy will appear. It is not loud, not violent. It is sweet, seductive, and more dangerous than any wound. That enemy is emotional attachment. There is an enemy more dangerous than pain itself. It doesn't strike like a sudden blow, nor crash down like a storm. It comes softly, sweetly, making you believe you are happy. But in truth, it is turning your power into chains. That enemy is attachment. Think about it. How many times have you lost your peace just because someone didn't reply to a message? How many times have you begged to hold on to a toxic relationship simply because you feared emptiness? How many times have you clung to a title or a job that was never truly yours? Imagine a bird soaring through the sky, but its leg is tied with a thin string. It believes it is free until it discovers that just one small tug can pull it down. That is you, when you are attached to the wrong thing. Machiavelli once wrote, "A ruler must know when to hold and when to release. Power is not in how much you grasp, but in whether you dare to cut away at the right time." Look at the man betrayed yet still clinging. He says, "I cannot live without her." But the truth is, he is not living for love. He is living in fear. Fear of emptiness, fear of being unseen, fear of starting over. And that fear has made him a slave. In modern times, attachment takes many forms. Attachment to the gaze of others, to likes on social media, to fragile validation. You think you are free, but a single word of criticism can drag you into hell. Here's the way out. Write down 3 people or 3 things that stir your emotions the most. Then ask yourself, if I lost them, would I still be me? If the answer is no, it means you are chained. After that, try living one day without them. No messages begging for attention, no posts begging for validation. Just silence and observation. You will realize you don't collapse, you just began to break free. And when someone threatens to leave, don't beg. Open the door. If they want to go, let them. Because what truly belongs to you will never need to be held by fear. People will say you are cold when you stop clinging. Let them talk. You are not cold, you have simply understood. Anything that controls your emotions owns you, and you were not born to be owned. Ask yourself, right now, what are you holding on to only because you fear losing it? Does it truly nourish you, or does it drain you day by day? If you see it clearly, engrave this as your declaration. Attachment is weakness. I choose control. The moment you release those sweet chains, you don't just live, you begin to rule. And only when you are brave enough to let go will you be strong enough to enter an even harsher realm. Voluntary isolation, the place where true kings are forged out of darkness. They will tell you that loneliness is failure, that silence means you've been abandoned, that the emptiness around you is a sign of weakness. But the truth is different. Most people fear being alone, because in silence, they are forced to face themselves. If you want to become untouchable, you must learn to step into the darkness, where there is no one left to lean on. This is not punishment, it is training. Imagine a sword. It is never forged in the light, but in fire and in darkness. So it is with human beings. Remember Machiavelli during his years of exile. He lost power, lost position, was cast out from the court. By day, he worked the fields like a nameless man. But when night fell, he put on his robe, sat at his desk, and conversed with the great minds who had been dead for centuries. In isolation, he wrote The Prince, the book that made his name immortal. Without that solitude, the world would never have known Machiavelli. Or look at the present. Elon Musk once slept on the factory floor of Tesla, cutting out all luxury, cutting out the noise of society. He chose isolation to pour every ounce of energy into one thing, building what no one believed was possible. It was in those lonely nights that he forged the strategies that shocked the world. And you? Do you fear loneliness? Or do you fear the truth about yourself that will surface when no one is there to shield you? Try this exercise. Each day, spend at least 2 hours with no phone, no music, no one around, just you and your mind. Write down every thought, even the ugliest ones. This is not punishment, it is training. And once a week, choose one full day to cut yourself off completely. No meetings, no posts, no messages. Let the silence cook you. If you feel restless, it means you have just discovered your own chains. People will notice you appear less, speak less, share less. They will whisper that you've changed. Let them. When you return, you will no longer be the version they once knew. You will be someone else colder, sharper, beyond their reach. If you are ready to walk into the land few dare to enter, engrave this line. I train in silence, I return with power. It is in silence that kings are forged. Not in applause, not in loud gatherings, but in the dark rooms where no one is watching. And once you have learned to endure isolation, a higher art will unfold before you, turning pain into strategic weaponry, turning every wound into data that keeps you always one step ahead. Do you realize that pain does not come only to torture you, it comes to teach you? Yet most people never learn from pain. They react on instinct, they scream, they complain, they blame, they get swallowed by emotions. And in that very moment, they lose. Machiavelli was different. He looked at pain as a map. Every wound is a marker, every betrayal a coordinate, every failure a code. And if you are cold enough to read it, you will see pain is the most valuable data for building strategy. Imagine a fighter knocked down. The weak will cry, blame the coach, and quit. But the true fighter will review every punch, every opening, every second of lost focus. He turns failure into a lesson plan so no one can ever defeat him the same way again. That is the art of turning pain into deadly precision. In the modern world, a startup may collapse in 6 months. The founder might tell himself, I'm not good enough. But if he coldly asks, what weakness caused my failure? Then next time, he returns sharper without repeating the same mistake. And you? Are you playing chess with pain? Or are you still playing the predictable game of emotions? To turn pain into strategy, treat it as data. When someone betrays you, write, "What signal did I ignore?" When a plan collapses, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What weakness was exposed?" And after every crisis, make a list. Next time, I will never repeat this mistake again. The wounds that keep repeating in your life are sending you a message. The old partner betrayed you. Then the new one betrayed you too. The old boss disrespected you. Then the new one does the same. It is not fate cursing you. It is life reminding you, you haven't learned the lesson yet. Here is a simple but powerful ritual. After every painful event, instead of running to comfort, sit down and write 3 lines. 1. What hurt me? 2. What weakness it exposed? 3. How I will strike back next time. This is how pain becomes a weapon. This is how you turn chaos into a map. When you master this, you begin to see what others cannot. You read situations. You anticipate before mistakes repeat. You look at people and already know what they will do. That is not a sixth sense, it is strategic memory, forged in blood and tears. If you truly understand this, carve it into your mind as a declaration. I no longer react, I reposition. Because the one who turns pain into strategy will never repeat the same failure twice. But this is still not the end. Because beyond your own wounds, there are arrows far more dangerous. Poisoned arrows, shot through the emotions of others. And if you don't build immunity, all your strategies will collapse. Do you realize that the world rarely takes you down with swords or weapons? It defeats you with invisible daggers aimed straight at your emotions. One small insult is enough to break your composure. One cold glance can steal your sleep. One unanswered message can keep you restless all night. This is how people are controlled. Not through violence, but through subtle stabs into the mind. Be honest. How many times have you lost your energy because of one meaningless comment? How many times have you given away an entire day to a single look of contempt? Machiavelli once warned, "A ruler cannot let the heart lead because others will use those emotions as chains to drag him down." If you want to be untouchable, you must learn emotional immunity. Immunity does not mean numbness. It means you see, you hear, you still feel, but nothing can pierce the steel core within you. Imagine a fortress of steel. Arrows may strike from the outside, but they cannot break the walls. Inside, the fire still burns, but no one can breach it. That is the immune mind. Think of a CEO under heavy attack in a meeting. The weak will lash out, argue, or make impulsive decisions. The strong remain silent. On the outside, he seems untouched. But on the inside, every attack is recorded data to fuel a future counterstrike. Or in love, the abandoned one will beg, text, plead for another chance. But the immune are different. They hurt, yes, but they never give the other the privilege of seeing the wound. They retreat quietly. And that silence makes them unpredictable, cold, and stronger than ever. Here's how to train. Audit your relationships. Write down who drains your energy the most. Ask yourself, am I giving them too much control over my emotions? Create a strategic pause. Whenever provoked, count 30 seconds in your mind. In those 30 seconds, remind yourself, if I react now, I've already lost. Train to keep a calm face before both praise and criticism. The less others can read you, the less they can manipulate you. Imagine this. If starting tomorrow, no one could touch your emotions, how would your life change? Less anger, less anxiety, less begging. You would begin to live like a fortress. People will call you cold, distant. Let them. They don't understand that this is not coldness, it is freedom. When you are immune to emotional games, no one can control you. If you are ready, engrave this declaration. My peace is locked. No one gets in. Inner peace is not something given to you. It is a fortress you build yourself brick by brick, discipline by discipline. And once that fortress stands, no arrow of emotion can ever pierce it. But remember, emotional immunity is only your armor of defense. To truly rise to the next level of power, you need an invisible weapon, something that can change the entire room the moment you walk in. There are people who don't need to say a single word, yet the entire room changes the moment they walk in. Not because they shout, not because they boast, but because their very presence is a form of invisible power that everyone can feel. Have you witnessed it? A meeting filled with noise, voices clashing, arguments rising. Then, someone walks in. No one commands silence, yet the voices fade, and all eyes turn in the same direction. That is the power of presence. Machiavelli once wrote, "In the game of power, image matters more than truth." This means that even if you don't yet have all the power, you must know how to appear as if you already do. And presence itself becomes the tool to make that possible. In modern life, a successful entrepreneur doesn't need many words. He walks with calm steps, steady eyes, measured body language. No one dares to dismiss such a person, even before he speaks a single sentence. Imagine this: a lion doesn't need to roar. The moment it steps out, the entire jungle trembles. That is the weapon of presence. You want to forge this invisible power? Begin with 3 steps. Hold deliberate silence. When someone attacks, don't rush to respond. Stay silent, look directly at them. That silence will make them more uneasy than 1,000 words. Train cold body language. Shoulders straight, steps steady, eyes firm. No unnecessary movements. The less you move, the more weight every action carries. And finally, choose words like, "You choose blades." Not many, but each sharp enough to leave a lasting mark. Ask yourself, if tomorrow you walked into a room and said nothing, yet everyone adjusted their behavior around you, isn't that the highest form of power? If you truly want to wield this weapon, engrave this vow in your mind. My presence is my power, my silence is my strike. But remember, presence only becomes a weapon when your inner mind is strong enough. If the inside is weak, the outer shell will quickly collapse. And that is why you must advance to the final level, building an untouchable mind. Have you ever sat alone in the dark, where only the sound of your heartbeat and the weight of your thoughts remained? Long nights when every betrayal, every failure, every humiliation returned to haunt you. And you asked yourself, can I rise again? One more time. Cost. One. Cost. Cost. Most collapse. They allow their minds to rot from within. But a rare few, a very rare few, choose a different path. They turn the darkness into a forge of steel. And from the ashes, an unbreakable mind is born. Machiavelli once said, "A man must make others fear him, or he will be crushed." The same is true of the mind. Either you make pain fear you, or you let it crush you completely. There is no middle ground. Remember Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years. Most men would have gone mad, lost hope, lost will. But Mandela walked out not as a broken prisoner, but as a mind of steel ready to lead a nation. That was not magic. That was the mental discipline of an unbreakable mind. Or in ordinary life, there are people who lose again and again. Money, loved ones, everything. The weak cry on social media, begging for sympathy. The strong stay silent, learn from their wounds, and return as an entirely different version of themselves. When they come back, no one recognizes them anymore. Do you want to forge such a mind? Begin with 3 principles. 1. Pause before reacting. Every time you are attacked, stop for 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds, you prevent a decision that could destroy your future. 2. Train the mind daily. Each morning, ask yourself, who commands my mind today? Emotion or discipline? 3. Learn to detach from emotions. Stand outside the chessboard like a strategist. Don't ask, why me? Ask, what's the next move? Imagine, if tomorrow life struck you again, would you collapse as before? Or rise, cold and precise, turning it into a stepping stone? When you stop reacting by instinct, others begin to fear you. When you are no longer easy to break, they no longer know what weapon to use. That is when you become dangerous, not because you strike wildly, but because you cannot be defeated. Engrave this declaration deep into your mind. I am untouchable now. I own my mind. An unbreakable mind does more than help you survive. It turns you from prey into predator. It makes you stop living by events and start using events to advance. And when you reach this level, no force can define you anymore. Only you define yourself. But don't think this is the end. This is only the doorway to a new stage. From here on, you are no longer rebuilding yourself. You are redesigning your entire life as a chessboard of power. Look back at the journey you've just walked. From painful falls, brutal truths, to the art of rising, letting go, discipline, isolation, turning pain into strategy, forging emotional immunity, and wielding presence as a weapon. All of it to forge one single thing, an unbreakable mind. Now, you no longer need comfort. You no longer need recognition. You are cold enough to stand alone, sharp enough to read every trick, and strong enough to make the entire world tread carefully around you. But don't mistake this as the end. This is only the beginning. Machiavelli once wrote, "True power is not in merely surviving trials, but in using that strength to control the chessboard." You've learned how to forge the mind. The next step is learning how to use that mind to shift situations, control people, and change the entire game, even when it seems you are at a disadvantage. Engrave this declaration as a signal to the world that you have entered another level. I don't just survive, I dominate. And now, I want to ask you, when was the last time pain forged you into someone new? Share your story in the comments. Because every honest testimony is proof that you have stepped onto the path of mental domination. But remember, the game of power is only just beginning. And in the next chapter, you will see why the truly strong never attack directly, they always win with invisible strikes. You've just faced the brutal truth of forging a mind that cannot be broken. But power is not only about how much pain you can endure, it is also about how you speak. In this world, people don't listen to the weak. They only listen to those who wield words like blades. Now, continue and learn how to speak like Machiavelli, to make 99% of people fall silent before you. Every time you open your mouth, a silent judgment takes place. People instantly decide, is this someone I must listen to? Or just another person I can ignore? How many times have you fallen into that situation? Standing in a meeting, voicing an idea you believed was brilliant, yet the room sank into cold silence, eyes drifting away, a few glances quickly averted. And in that moment, you knew you had disappeared from the game. Have you ever thought you gave it your all, yet the world still crushed you? Have you ever felt like life is a chessboard, but you never get to hold the rules? And how many times have you told yourself, tomorrow I'll start again, only for tomorrow to never arrive? This is not just a feeling. This is the brutal truth. The world does not care how hard you tried, how much you sacrificed, or how many nights you cried. If you are weak, you will be pushed aside. If you hesitate, others will step over you. And history will never remember your name. Machiavelli once warned, the weak believe that fairness will save them, but the strong understand. Fairness only exists when you have the power to enforce it. But there is another path, the path of the art of rising, not rising to beg for pity, but to turn every scar into armor. Like Caesar after his defeat in Gaul, he did not let the past bury him. He returned with a new army, new discipline, and new ambition to reclaim Rome. Time is not on your side. Opportunities do not repeat. How many things have you missed just because you whispered to yourself, tomorrow? How many times have you regretted letting a day slip away in hesitation? Healing is not burying your pain. Healing is when you look it straight in the eye and train yourself until it no longer controls you. Discipline is not a chain. It is the whip that drives you forward, even when your heart wants to quit. And when you live as if today were your last day, every word, every action becomes an arrow shot straight at the target. No more room for weakness. No more room for hesitation. This is the moment to rise and seize power. If you have ever seen yourself in this situation, write in the comments below, I will rise. And if you are truly brave, write the number. How many times have you fallen in life? 1, 5, or 10? Let the world see you have fallen, but this time you will not stay down. The world does not give you power. You must seize it. Have you ever walked into a room, carrying a brilliant idea in your head, fully confident that you would persuade everyone? You begin to speak, but then you keep adding more, circling around, throwing in extra details, more examples. You fear people won't understand. You fear your idea isn't convincing enough. And when you finally pause to take a breath, you realize the fire in their eyes is gone. Someone checks their phone. Another folds their arms and sighs. You've lost them. Have you ever been that person? Have you ever left a meeting asking yourself, what did I just do? Why did I talk so much? Have you ever replayed your words in your head and realized that if you had stopped at the 2-minute mark, everyone would have nodded? This is the most dangerous trap in the art of communication. Over-explaining, talking too much. Machiavelli once reminded us, the wise man does not strengthen his power through endless words. He strengthens it through brevity, through silence at the right moment. The smartest person in the room is rarely the one who speaks the most. They are the one who makes every word fall like a hammer onto the mind. Each sentence a blade, not many, but sharp enough to carve themselves into memory. In history, Caesar needed only one command: cross the Rubicon, and his entire army followed, changing Rome's destiny. Churchill, in bomb-struck London, did not need hours of speeches. In just a few minutes, with short, cold words, he turned fear into belief, despair into strength. Now look at modern life. A student presenting, trying to explain a simple concept, but circling for 10 minutes until the entire class forgets the main point. A job candidate, nervous, stuffing in endless details, and the interviewer only remembers he wasn't confident. How many times in your own life have you fallen into that trap? Have you ever listened to someone ramble on endlessly until you just wanted them to stop, and then realized sometimes you were that person? Why do we make this mistake? Because we fear being misunderstood. Because we're not certain of ourselves. Because when we don't see the reaction we want, we try to fill the silence with more words. But the more we speak, the more others see our weakness. Remember, silence is also a weapon. A 3-second pause can carry more weight than a flood of explanations. Warren Buffett once said, the easiest way to increase your personal value by 50% is to sharpen your communication skills. And he never advised speaking more. He advised speaking sharper. So, what's the strategy? Limit yourself. One idea, 2 sentences. The first gives the essence, the second, the proof. Then stop. Practice silence. After speaking, pause for 3 seconds. People will digest your words, and you will gain weight. Challenge yourself. If you need more than 2 minutes to explain an idea, it means you're weak, not clear. Do you dare try it? Right now, pick any idea and try to express it in 30 seconds. No more. Then ask yourself, did they understand? If yes, then every extra word would only have been weakness disguised as strength. Take on this simple challenge. Over the next 24 hours, time every time you speak. If you go beyond 60 seconds, comment below this video. I talk too much. If you manage to stay concise, comment, "I control my words." And for us to see the true power of this community, share a moment when you failed simply because you talked too much. Write it down. Because admission itself is what prevents repetition. You can win back the attention of a room, not with thousands of words, but with a single sentence. The question is, do you have the discipline to stop at the right moment? Have you ever sat in a room, listening to someone speak, and within seconds you knew for certain you could not trust them? They might be right, they might even have a good idea, but their eyes dart around, their hands fidget, their shoulders curl as if apologizing to the entire world. Do you still want to follow someone like that? Or do you only think, he's unsure, he's not strong enough to lead? Be honest. Have you ever been that person? Have you ever stepped up to present, only for your legs to shake, your hands to cling desperately to something, your eyes to run away from the room? Have you ever felt that, even though your words were right, your power evaporated the moment others looked into your eyes? This is the second mistake, the silent enemy of powerful presence, fidgeting when your body language betrays you. Machiavelli once said, "A leader does not rule by words alone. He rules by the gaze, by the stance, by the stillness that forces others to tread carefully." History repeats this truth. A prince who trembles when he appears, can his soldiers remain loyal? Caesar knew that simply standing tall with a cold gaze was enough to plant certainty in his army's hearts. Napoleon would enter a room without shouting, without spectacle. Just a few slow, precise gestures, and the entire room fell silent. And you? Have you ever asked yourself, how is my body betraying me before I even open my mouth? Do others see a steady leader or a shaky figure trying to look strong? The brutal truth is, people trust your body more than they trust your words. You can promise with language, but if your shoulders hunch, your eyes flee, your hands tremble, they will believe the silent language instead. Today, you see this every day. A job candidate, speaking well of his skills, but with legs shaking under the table and his career dream vanishes. A student presenting, talking about confidence, but shredding the paper in his hands, and the class sighs in boredom. How many times in your life has your own body betrayed you? Have you ever watched someone tremble and immediately thought, I can't follow them? And do you have the courage to ask, do others think the same about me? So what's the strategy to destroy this mistake? Stand tall like a warrior. Shoulders open, back straight. Movements slow and steady. Control your hands. Don't let them reveal your anxiety. Use them to emphasize, not to seek hiding places. Move with intention. The nervous shuffle constantly. The strong need only one gesture to command silence. Embrace silence with posture. Stand firm, say nothing, and force others to focus on you. Imagine this. You walk into a meeting room. You say nothing. You just stand tall, letting your eyes sweep across. In that moment, you don't ask for attention. You command it. Do you dare try this? I challenge you. Over the next 7 days, record yourself in a conversation. Don't listen to the words. Watch your body. Is it solid, or is it betraying you? Then comment one word under this video. Steel, if you are in control. Weak, if your body still controls you. Let the world see where you truly stand. And if you're strong enough, share a moment when your body betrayed you. Write it down, so next time, you won't repeat it. Remember, people do not only listen with their ears, they read you with their eyes. And if their eyes don't believe, their ears never will. There is a kind of failure that makes no noise, yet silently kills every opportunity in your life, waiting for permission. Have you ever been in this situation? A group working on a project, the deadline closing in. Everyone knows they need to start, but no one moves. Everyone waits. Waits for someone to assign. Waits for a nod. Waits for a voice to say, You be the leader. And when that empty space stretches too long, someone else steps up. Not necessarily better than you, not necessarily more capable, but because they acted first, every eye turned to them. Have you ever seen someone less talented than you become the leader simply because they dared to speak first? Have you ever missed a golden opportunity just because you stayed silent? And how many times have you asked yourself, if I had stepped up that day, would everything have been different? Machiavelli once wrote, "Power is not given. It is seized by the strong." A leader does not sit and wait to be crowned. He crowns himself through decisiveness. I still remember a moment back in university. A group of 4, a major assignment due in 2 weeks. I got sick for a few days. When I returned, I asked, "So, how far have we gone?" And the answer froze me. "We haven't done anything, because we don't have a group leader." In that moment, I could have waited. But I knew if I waited, we would all fail. That night, I wrote a plan, divided the tasks, set deadlines. The next morning, I laid it on the table. Here's how we're going to do it. No one objected. No one asked why I had the right. They just nodded and followed. And from that moment, I became the leader, not because someone gave it to me, but because I seized it. Do you see the truth? A leader is not the one chosen. A leader is the one who steps up while everyone else is still waiting. The decisive one becomes the center. The hesitant one is pushed to the margins. History shows us this over and over. Power vacuums always exist, and the one who fills them writes the rules. When Rome fell into chaos, Caesar stepped up and seized supreme power. When England was drowning under bombs, Churchill did not wait for Parliament to allow him to speak. He stood and declared, with a cold voice, "We shall never surrender." And the nation followed. And you? How many times have you convinced yourself, "When they allow me, I'll begin"? Do you not see that this waiting is killing your opportunities, day after day? Can you admit that the one leading you today may not be better than you, but simply dared to step forward first? The brutal truth is, if you do not step up, someone else will. And once they seize it, you will forever be seen as the follower. So, what's the strategy? Stop asking for permission. Act the moment you see a gap. Create certainty. People follow not because you're always right, but because you decide. Claim the void. Don't let opportunity hover. The first to grab it earns the right to write the law. Do this challenge right now. Recall a moment you lost an opportunity because you waited. Write it in the comments. Don't hide it. When you write, you turn regret into a scar, and scars remind you never to repeat it. If you are truly ready to abandon waiting, comment your declaration. "I will no longer wait for permission." And to reveal the strength of this community, if you belong to the side of action, comment the word "step up." If you admit you're still on the side of waiting, comment the word "wait." Let's see which side is greater. Remember this: those who ask for permission will always live under someone else's rules. Those who seize will write the rules for themselves. There is a kind of weakness that makes no noise, yet it destroys your credibility every single day. Silence when you should speak. Have you ever been in that situation? A colleague makes a clear mistake. The whole group sees it. You see it, and yet you stay silent. You fear upsetting them. You fear being disliked. You fear conflict. And the next day, the mistake repeats. Your credibility drops. No one says it out loud, but in their minds, they record it. He didn't dare face it. He can't be trusted. How many times have you stayed silent to keep the peace, only to regret it that same night? How many times have you walked out of a conversation, scolding yourself, "Why didn't I just say it?" And how many times has your silence slowly taught others to dismiss you? Machiavelli once warned, "Each time a ruler avoids the truth, he hands a piece of his power to his enemy." Dave Verlinger. At work, Every time you fail to give feedback, you lose authority. In relationships, every time you avoid the truth, you allow deceit to grow. In family, every time you stay silent to avoid confrontation, you deepen the distance. In the end, you are no longer the one they trust. You are only a shadow. Have you ever seen a leader lose all respect simply because he would not name the obvious? And do you dare look in the mirror and ask, how many times in my life have I done the same? History shows us. Great leaders never avoided the truth. Churchill did not paint with false colors. He spoke directly. I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. His words did not comfort, but they inspired respect. Because at least, he dared to say the truth no one else would. And you? Are you living in avoidance? How many truths do you know must be said, but you bury them in silence? Do you realize that every silence is like a blade slicing away at your credibility? The brutal truth is this. People never forget the times you stayed silent when they needed your voice. So what's the strategy? Speak the truth. Short, sharp, precise. One clean strike is better than 1,000 vague words. Do not fear displeasing. Displeasing one person is better than losing the respect of all. Keep your voice cold and calm. The one who explodes is dismissed. The one who speaks truth with ice earns fear and respect. Remember, truth is not a burden. It is a weapon. And only the one who dares to wield it is fit to lead. Within the next 48 hours, choose one conversation you've been avoiding. Say it directly. No circling. No apology. Then return here and comment one sentence. I faced the truth. If you still cannot, write, I am still avoiding. Be honest, because honesty itself is the first step of change, and I challenge you. Share a time when you stayed silent, when you should have spoken. Write it. Don't hide it. Because once you tell it, you turn the mistake into a scar, and scars remind you never to repeat them. Remember this. The avoider may live in peace for a day, but the one who faces the truth will be respected for a lifetime. There is a kind of leader who inspires respect today, but earns contempt tomorrow. Not because they are incompetent, not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack consistency and allow their emotions to control their power. Have you ever worked for someone like that? Today they smile, encourage the whole team, make you believe anything is possible. But the very next day, the same person walks in with a scowl, barking orders, turning the office into hell. Do you still trust them? Or do you sigh inside, tomorrow will be another nightmare? Have you ever loved someone like that? Gentle today, cold tomorrow. And you lived more in anxiety than in love. And more importantly, do you dare admit that sometimes you are the same? Remember, the most fragile trust is the trust in stability. Machiavelli once warned, he who cannot rule himself will sooner or later be ruled by another. A leader may commit many mistakes, but if he lets emotions rule him, he smashes the very foundation of his power. I once had a boss like that. Brilliant at his craft, master of every number, but every day he walked in was a gamble. If he was happy at home, we had peace. If he was angry, we became his target. He shouted, cursed, slammed tables. And in the end, no matter how skilled he was, I left. No one wants their fate hanging on the unstable moods of another. Have you ever seen a leader lose respect not because of errors, but because of inconsistency? Do you dare look at yourself and ask, are others living in uncertainty because of my emotions? History shows us. The great understood the value of steadiness. Caesar never allowed himself to panic, even when battles turned against him. His calm steadied his army. Churchill, when London was drowning in bombs, did not bring his despair to Parliament. He brought composure, and that composure became a nation's faith. On the other hand, the inconsistent sow chaos. A leader who promises today denies tomorrow. A father gentle today raging tomorrow for no reason. A partner loving today, cold tomorrow over something trivial. People may forgive mistakes, but they will never be loyal to instability. The brutal truth is this: people don't remember what you said when happy, but they will never forget what you did when angry. So what's the strategy to destroy inconsistency? Pause before reacting. In that silence, you reclaim control. Don't dump personal emotional trash into work. If you're disappointed, handle it privately. Don't make the group pay. Train. Discipline. The inconsistent in personal life are rarely stable at work. Eating, sleeping, exercising, these are the roots of steadiness. Do you dare try tomorrow? When something makes you angry, stay silent for exactly 60 seconds before speaking. Then observe. Did your decision change? Did people see you differently? I want you to comment right now with a single word that describes you when you're angry. Silent, explosive, or cold. One word, but it will tell the world who you are in their eyes. And if you've ever been hurt by someone's inconsistency, a boss, a parent, a lover, write the shortest story you can. Because when you write it, you'll never want to repeat that same mistake. Remember this: people do not need a perfect leader, but they need one they can predict. You have walked through all the mistakes. You see clearly the traps holding you down. Speaking too much, letting your body betray you, waiting for permission, avoiding the truth, and living in emotional inconsistency. Each mistake is like an invisible chain, pulling you down, making you small in the eyes of others. But right now, you also see another path, the path of Machiavelli, stripping away weakness, sharpening your presence, and seizing power. Ask yourself, will I continue to live as one bound, or will I rise, break the chains, and reclaim my place? Machiavelli once wrote, "The wise man is not the one who does more, but the one who removes what makes him weak." Power does not come from adding, it comes from subtracting. Remove the habits that make you ordinary. Remove the actions that erode your credibility. Remove the hesitation that makes you invisible. Look back. How many times have you lost others' attention because you spoke too much? How many times has your body betrayed your insecurity? How many times have you stayed silent when you should have spoken? How many times have you waited for someone else to grant you permission to live? How many times has a small outburst of anger destroyed the credibility you spent a year building? Do you dare admit that even a single mistake can ruin everything? And do you have the courage to say, "I will not allow myself to repeat it again"? They are to a help. You can favor attend you, and a faving soul retend of the reself. History shows us, those who step forward, those who dare to seize, leave their mark. Caesar did not turn back after crossing the Rubicon. Churchill, when the British trembled under bombs, did not soothe them with lies. He said it straight: "We shall never surrender." Napoleon, once a nobody, through discipline and consistency, made an entire continent tremble. And you? How will your descendants speak of you? As a shadow, or as one who dared to seize power over their life? You do not need to be perfect. You only need to remove what makes you weak. When you speak less, people listen more. When your body is steady, they feel safe. When you do not wait, they follow you. When you face the truth, they respect you. When you are stable, they stay loyal to you. Picture this. You walk into a room, no noise, no display, just silence. But it is that silence that forces every eye upon you. You do not beg for attention, you seize it. Do you dare become that person? If you are ready, leave below one declaration of power. A short, sharp sentence, carved into your memory. I will rise. I will not wait for permission. I turn silence into a weapon. I want to see at least 1,000 declarations appear under this video. Because when you write, you do not only write for yourself, you are swearing before the world that you have chosen the path of power. And here is the final challenge: 30 days of the Machiavellian mindset. In the next 30 days, choose one weak habit over explaining, waiting, avoiding, inconsistency, and eliminate it. Every day, you will grow stronger. Every day, you will become more formidable. And after 30 days, you will no longer be the same person. The final question I leave with you: will you continue to live as one who waits? Or will you rise, seize power, and force others to listen? Answer: not for me, but for your own life. You have seen the power of words, but words still have limits. Real power appears when you no longer need words, and yet an entire room grows uneasy in your silence. This is the art of withdrawal, of deliberate absence, where you stop explaining and force others to face their own dependence on you. Now step forward and discover why no one can ever break a mind forged in fire. Imagine walking into a crowded room. Everyone is laughing, everyone is debating, everyone is trying to prove themselves with long speeches. And then another man enters. He doesn't argue. He doesn't justify. He doesn't need to raise his voice to be heard. He simply sits down, and the atmosphere changes. The laughter suddenly fades. Every eye shifts. Have you ever witnessed that moment, when one man's silence chills an entire room? Have you ever wondered why silence weighs heavier than 1,000 excuses? Why sometimes a person doesn't have to say a word, yet everyone grows cautious? That is not weakness, that is power. The power of someone who has nothing to prove, the power of deliberate withdrawal. Machiavelli once wrote, "A prince must know how to disappear while still preserving influence. For absence, if intentional, becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, others do not just see you. They see their own dependence." Do you realize that? People are not truly afraid of losing your love. They are afraid of losing their control over you. They don't miss you for who you are. They miss the feeling of being able to call you anytime. They miss the kindness you gave unconditionally. And if you are always available, always answering, always explaining just to keep the peace, then you are not loved. You are being used. How many times in your life have you said yes while your heart was screaming no? How many times have you rushed to explain yourself just so others wouldn't misunderstand? How many times have you swallowed tears just to maintain peace? And how many times after that have you asked yourself, why am I always the weaker one? Be honest. The predictable man will never be respected. The man who is not respected will always be controlled. If you believe unlimited kindness will protect you, you are wrong. It will destroy you. So what do you choose? To continue letting others decide your worth, or to start turning silence into your weapon? When you withdraw, they don't just remember you, they begin to fear losing you. And that fear is power. Put yourself in this situation. If tomorrow you stopped explaining, stopped justifying, stopped showing up whenever they wanted, who would remain? Who would panic? Who would collapse in that emptiness? If you've ever been exploited for your kindness, if you've ever felt like just a tool, leave your mark under this video. Write, "I'm done explaining." Not for me, not for anyone else, but for yourself. So that starting today, you kill the weaker version of you and are reborn as someone the world will never dare to underestimate. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it so easy for others to exploit you? Why do they always come to you when they need something, but disappear when you're the one in pain? The reason is simple. Inside, you still lives a weak version of yourself. A man who always wants to be liked. A man who craves approval. A man who fears disappointing others. Do you see yourself in this? How many times have you agreed just to keep the peace? How many times have you explained yourself only to prove you were innocent? How many times have you forgiven not because they deserved it, but because you feared losing them? That weak version is a chain. It has no shape, yet it drags you down, stripping you of respect in the eyes of others. Machiavelli once warned, "Goodness without power will be devoured. Patience without limits will be drained dry." People do not admire your sacrifice. They exploit it. They do not value your forgiveness. They see it as an invitation to betray you again. Have you heard the story of Caesar and Brutus? Caesar was hailed as a great conqueror, but he fell not at the hands of his enemies. He was struck down by the very one he called a friend. The moment Caesar gasped, "Et tu, Brute," was not only physical pain. It was the moment he realized blind trust had killed him. How many times in your life has a Brutus stabbed you in the back? And how did you react? Did you cry? Did you explain? Or did you swallow it in silence and allow others to exploit you again? Remember this. Every time you explain, you tear off your own armor. Every time you seek approval, you hand them the rope to bind you. Every time you trust a promise, you give them the key to betrayal. So what's the solution? You don't need more strength. You only need to eliminate what makes you breakable. Stop explaining. Stop seeking approval. Stop believing loyalty is forever. Imagine if starting tomorrow, you never justified a single decision. If you only said, "This is my choice," and stayed silent, how would people see you then? Would they still look down on you? Or would they begin to tread carefully? This is the first step to killing the weak version, and I want you to carve this vow with your own hand. Leave a comment, "I choose Fortress Mind," because if you don't kill the weak version, sooner or later, it will kill you. Have you ever disappeared from a conversation and realized your silence unsettled others more than 1,000 justifications? Have you ever ignored a message and immediately the other person grew anxious, doubtful, wondering what they had done wrong? That is the power of withdrawal. In the eyes of the weak, withdrawal is defeat. But for Machiavelli, deliberate withdrawal is an invisible strike. When you stay silent, when you disappear, you are not only conserving your own energy, you are forcing others to face a mirror to confront their dependence, their addiction called you. Think about it. Do they truly miss you? Or do they miss the feeling of controlling you? Do they truly regret losing you? Or do they regret losing the service you once provided? How many times did you think you were important, when in reality you were only the chair they sat on when they were tired? Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must know how to vanish without losing influence, for absence with intent becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, others see not only you, they see their own dependence." You've seen this in history. Steve Jobs was cast out of Apple, but he did not collapse. He withdrew, created Next, invested in Pixar. And when he returned, he didn't just come back, he returned as a symbol. His absence forced the entire world to realize, without him, Apple was nothing but a soulless shell. So what about you? If tomorrow you vanished from a relationship, a job, a group of friends, would they truly miss you? Or would they only miss the conveniences you once gave them? This is how you measure your true worth. Picture this. In an argument, you don't yell, you don't defend, you don't explain. You simply stay silent, lock eyes, then stand up and walk away. Who will still believe they've won in that moment? And who will feel defeated by the emptiness you left behind? The power of withdrawal does not lie in absence itself. It lies in the unease you leave burning inside others. And it is that unease that makes them respect you. So ask yourself, will you dare to withdraw? Or will you stay to serve as the backdrop for someone else's comfort? Will you dare to let silence speak for you? Or will you keep shouting in vain? If you are truly ready to use withdrawal as a weapon, write this in the comments, "My silence commands." Because once you master strategic withdrawal, you'll realize nothing is more terrifying than the one who doesn't need to be present to make the whole world think of him. Have you ever lost your temper just because of a careless remark? Have you ever exploded at an insult, only to regret later that you revealed your weakness? How many times have you been dragged into meaningless arguments and in the end realized you had no energy left for what truly mattered? If you've ever felt that way, then you already know what it means to live without an inner fortress. Machiavelli warned, "The wise ruler does not rely on stone walls, but on the fortress within his mind. For only when the mind is firm can every wall stand firm." Ask yourself, who is your most dangerous enemy? The people out there or the impulsive emotions inside you? To become unbreakable, you don't need more weapons. You need a fortress within a place where no insult can pierce, no promise can sway, and no betrayal can bring you down. So, how do you build that fortress? First, stop reacting, start calculating. The weak always react instantly. The strong observe. Imagine this. The next time someone attacks you, instead of striking back immediately, you stay silent. 10 seconds pass. Who grows impatient? Who exposes their weakness first? Second, eliminate the need to be understood. How many times have you explained yourself, just hoping others would understand you, only to be looked down upon even more? The truth is this: the more you expose, the easier you are to control. So why beg for understanding from those who never cared to understand you? Third, train yourself to endure discomfort. The weak collapse because they build their lives around comfort. But what about you? Do you dare skip a meal to strengthen discipline? Do you dare keep working when your mind screams for rest? Do you dare reject an invitation when your soft heart whispers, "Just say yes"? Fourth, accept betrayal. As a rule, how many times have you been shocked when friends or allies turned their backs on you? But why the shock? Loyalty is always temporary. People are loyal until interests shift. Why expect permanence from what was never stable? Fifth, turn patience into a weapon. The impatient usually lose. The one who can wait usually wins. Are you cold enough to stay silent, to wait until your enemy makes a mistake? Are you disciplined enough to hold back your anger and strike at the exact moment that breaks them completely? Now imagine this. Starting today, you no longer react unconsciously. You no longer crave understanding. You no longer run from discomfort. You no longer naively believe in eternal loyalty. And you have the patience to wait for the right time. Who would you become? A fragile wall? Or an unbreakable fortress? If you are truly ready to lay the first brick, write down this vow. I'm building my fortress mind, because only when the inner fortress is built will you stop being prey. You will become the one the world must fear. Have you ever wondered why you feel exhausted even when you haven't done anything heavy? Why, as each day passes, you feel drained, hollow, as if empty, even though thousands of tasks are still waiting? It's not because you're weak. It's because you've allowed others to withdraw your energy, as if from a bank with no closing hours. Carl Jung once said, "Every thought, every emotion withdraws a portion from the limited reserve within us." In other words, you have a finite energy tank, but instead of guarding it, you let it leak into meaningless arguments, into people who only exploit you, into relationships that make you smaller. How many times have you wasted an entire day being angry at a single remark? How many times have you been dragged into arguments that changed absolutely nothing? How many times have you poured your time, your strength, your care into people who never gave a single drop back? Machiavelli wouldn't call that exhaustion. He would call it failed strategy. Because the one who spends energy on small battles will have nothing left when the real war arrives. Do you see this cold truth? The strong are not those with endless energy. The strong are those who spend energy like gold, rare, precious, and worth every drop. Look at kings and rulers. They never scattered gold recklessly. They kept it, accumulated it, and spent only when they knew the return would come back tenfold. The same with your energy. It is not for waste, it is for investment. So, are you investing or are you squandering? Every time you react, you pay a piece of energy. Every time you play the rescuer, you withdraw from your reserves and hand it away unconditionally. Every time you jump into every conversation, you trade away your focus for emptiness. If you treated energy like money, would you still spend it so freely? Would you let just anyone touch your wallet? Then why do you let anyone touch your energy? Imagine this. Starting today, you put a price on your attention. You stay silent when no response is needed. You cut off those who only drain you. You invest your energy only in upgrading yourself. Who would you become after a month? After a year? Who would still have the power to control you? If you are truly ready to treat your energy like gold, write down this vow. My energy feeds no fools, because only when you stop giving it away recklessly will you begin to grow dangerous. And the world will feel it, because they will no longer be able to drain a single drop from you. Have you ever seen someone who always has to explain themselves, always has to defend, always has to react to every insult? Do you realize they look like a living target, absorbing blows, but never choosing the moment to strike back? If you only defend, sooner or later you will collapse. A wall that only resists will eventually crack. Real power does not lie merely in protecting yourself, but in knowing when to stay silent and when to strike so decisively that no one dares challenge you again. Machiavelli once warned, "A wise ruler never fights on a battlefield chosen by someone else." What does that mean? It means if you keep reacting by their rules, you've already lost before the battle even begins. Ask yourself, how many times have you been dragged into arguments where you gained nothing, only exhaustion? How many times have you been provoked just so the other person could delight in watching you lose control? How many times have you stepped into a battle you never wanted in the first place? Napoleon never charged into confrontations his enemies prepared. He chose the time. He chose the ground. He drained them first, and then he struck. Do you dare do the same? Do you dare wait, stay silent, and then strike at the exact moment your enemy least expects, crushing them completely? Picture this. In the face of an attack, you don't react. You observe. You stay silent. You let them believe you're weak, and then, at their most careless moment, you deliver the one blow they never saw coming. Who is really in control then? To do this, you need 3 principles. 1. Never fight on the battlefield others choose. Let them expose their weakness, then strike where it hurts most. 2. Become unpredictable. When you stay silent, every move you make leaves others unsettled. Do you want people whispering, "What will he do next?" 3. Reward and punish coldly. Do not threaten, do not explain. When someone betrays you, erase them from your life quietly, without warning. And when someone is loyal, even a small recognition is enough to make them desperate to keep their place. Do you realize this? People don't fear shouting. They fear cold silence and sudden retaliation. So I ask you, will you remain the one who only defends? Or will you learn to attack like a strategist? Will you keep playing by their rules? Or will you force them to play by yours? If you're ready to choose your own battlefield, leave this vow in the comments. I choose my battlefield, because only when you stop reacting and start calculating will you cease being prey. You will become the one who decides when the game begins and when it ends. Have you ever met someone who silenced an entire room before even opening their mouth? They didn't need to shout. They didn't need to prove themselves. They didn't need to command. Yet, by their mere presence, everyone grew cautious. Have you ever wondered why? That is the aura of power. Machiavelli understood. Power does not only lie in actions, but in the feeling you create in the minds of others. You don't need to prove you're strong. Your silence, your stance, your gaze, these alone remind people, do not cross him. Think of Alexander the Great. He didn't need to scream to make his soldiers obey. A cold stare, a straight posture, and a long silence were enough for everyone to recognize he was the center. No one dares underestimate the man whose silence carries the scent of power. And what about you? When you walk into a room, do others feel your presence? Or are you just another shadow dissolving into the crowd? Have you ever asked yourself why people don't respect your words? Perhaps it's not because you're wrong. Perhaps it's because even in silence, you haven't built an aura strong enough to command caution. Aura doesn't come from what you wear on the outside. It comes from the principles you hold within. 1. Speak less, but with weight. The man who talks too much dilutes himself. The man who speaks little makes each word a sword. Do you want to be remembered for empty chatter or for the rare sentences that force reflection? 2. Never appear desperate. Desperation is blood in the water. The more you crave love, acceptance, or help, the easier you are to control. Can you act as if nothing is urgent even when a fire rages inside you? 3. Cultivate mystery. Does everyone need to know what you think, what you want? Or do you let them guess? Mystery breeds fear, and sometimes fear is the strongest shield. 4. Punish coldly. Do you see how one decisive act of discipline echoes louder than 1,000 threats? When you cut someone off in silence, you plant in them a permanent obsession. 5. Control your image. Absolutely. Your walk, your eyes, your posture, all are messages. Do you think people only hear your words? Wrong. Before they listen, they read your body. And your body tells them, are you prey or are you predator? So I ask you, do you want to walk into a room as just another man or as a king? Do you want to be heard or respected even before you speak? If you are truly ready to build your own aura, leave this vow in the comments. My presence speaks louder than words, because once your aura is strong enough, you won't need to raise your voice. Others will silence themselves to listen. Gaining power is hard, but keeping it is 10 times harder. Have you ever seen someone once at the top, only to be forgotten a few years later? A businessman once praised, only to end in bankruptcy? A leader once admired by the world, only to be brought down by his own inner circle? Why does this happen? Machiavelli once warned, the ruler most doomed to fail is not the weak, but the one who believes he is safe. The moment you think you've won is the very moment you begin to lose. The moment you relax, comfort seeps in, dismantling every brick of the fortress you built. Do you realize your most dangerous enemy is not betrayal, not the enemies outside, but the comfort you allow yourself? How many times have you abandoned discipline because you thought you deserved a break? How many times have you let indulgence slip in, and in that moment, lost your sharpness? Look at history. Caesar did not fall to enemies at the border. He died because of his complacency toward those seated right beside him. How many leaders have fallen, not from open blows, but from a single moment of lowered guard? If you truly want to keep power, you need 3 principles. First, unchanging discipline. You cannot keep discipline only when it's convenient. Discipline is not a choice, it is an identity. Do you dare hold to a habit relentlessly, even on the busiest days, to remind yourself you are not allowed to grow weak? Second, protect your circle. The most dangerous enemy is not outside the gate, but among those you let inside your castle. Do you dare face someone once close to you, but who now weakens you, and cut them out of your life? Third, never let anyone believe they own you. People will try to bind you with love, with closeness, with false loyalty. Do you dare keep a distance warm enough to inspire loyalty, yet cold enough that no one ever fully possesses you? Do you see it? They will call you cold, they will call you distant, they will call you arrogant. But ask yourself, do you want to be loved for your softness or respected for your untouchability? So I ask you, if tomorrow you stopped relaxing, stopped compromising, stopped letting comfort ruin your discipline, who would you become in a year? An ordinary man or an eternal cold fortress? If you are truly ready to guard eternal cold power, write this vow in the comments. I guard my power with discipline, because true power is not the moment you seize it. True power is when you keep it without ever letting it slip away. Have you ever sat alone in a dark room, turned off your phone, cut out all the noise, and suddenly felt a strange fear rising? Not fear of the dark, not fear of silence, but fear of yourself. What are you afraid of in that moment? Afraid of facing the truth that all this time you've only existed in the eyes of others. Afraid of realizing you don't even know who you are without external validation. Machiavelli saw isolation differently. For the weak, isolation is punishment. But for the strong, isolation is purification. Carl Jung called it individuation. The process of shedding the social masks forced upon you to return to your truest essence. Machiavelli would say, only in solitude does a ruler discover what power he truly holds and what he has given away. Do you see this truth? People are not afraid of losing you. They are afraid of losing the service you once provided. They don't miss you. They miss the convenience of being able to call you anytime. So, when you disappear, do they really miss you, or just the ease you gave them? Think of Steve Jobs. When he was pushed out of Apple, many thought he was finished. But in that isolation, Jobs founded Next, invested in Pixar, and when he returned, he didn't just return, he dominated. His absence became proof. Without him, Apple was just an empty shell. And what about you? If tomorrow you withdrew from a relationship, a group of friends, a job, who would truly seek you out? And who would reveal themselves as parasites, people who only stayed because you were useful? Isolation doesn't take away your friends. It only removes the parasites. It doesn't destroy you. It kills the weak version, the one who lives for recognition. Do you have the courage to turn loneliness into a weapon? Do you dare sit alone, not to complain, but to sharpen yourself? Do you dare remain silent, not to escape, but to see clearly who still stands by you when you no longer serve them? If you have ever feared being alone, this is the moment to turn fear into strength. And if you are ready to let isolation forge you anew, leave this vow in the comments. My solitude is my sanctuary, because only in solitude is a lion born. And once it roars, the whole world falls silent. You've walked an entire journey. From the moment you realized unconditional kindness only turns you into a tool, to the moment you dared to kill the weak version of yourself. From learning the art of silence and strategic withdrawal, to building your inner fortress and guarding your energy like gold. From being only on defense, to launching attacks on your own terms. You've seen the power of the aura of authority when you don't have to shout, yet the whole room falls silent. You've learned that keeping power is harder than seizing it, and that the most dangerous enemy is comfort itself. And finally, you've understood. Isolation is not punishment. It is purification, where your weak version dies so that a lion may be reborn. But now I ask you, all that you've just heard, what will you do with it? Will you let it remain mere philosophy, drifting past your ears, only to return tomorrow to your old ways? Or will you turn it into blood, into bone, into habit? Ask yourself, starting tomorrow, do you still want to live as prey, always reacting, always predictable, always controlled? Or will you rise as predator, silent, unreadable, untouchable? How many times in your life have you sworn to change, only to let comfort pull you back? How many times have you known what was right, yet chosen what was easy? And how many times have you asked yourself why life never respects you? This is the final challenge. For the next 7 days, choose one weak habit and cut it off. If you often justify, stay silent. If you are always available whenever others want, withdraw. If you tend to react, sit still and observe. Every time you resist, a brick is laid in your fortress. Every day you remain consistent, another part of your weak version dies. And when the 7 days end, you will look back and see, you are no longer the same. If you are truly ready to step into this path, write this vow in the comments. I choose fortress. I choose power. Not for me, not for anyone else, but for yourself, to mark the day you abandoned weakness and joined the ranks of the untouchable. But remember, this is not the end. For Machiavelli did not only teach you how to survive, he taught you how to master the board, and survival alone is never enough. The truly strong not only defend themselves, they force the entire world to bend to their rules. Are you ready to go further? Are you ready not just to be a fortress that stands, but the one who designs the entire battlefield? If your answer is yes, then stay. Because the next video will not only keep you safe, it will turn you into the one the world must fear. You've learned how to build a fortress within your mind. But even the strongest will collapse if poisoned by the 5 deadly habits that silently destroy power. Quitting too soon, waiting for approval, blind gambling, listening to the weak, and choosing the wrong partner. Now face these 5 habits head-on and break them before they break you. If you keep living the way you are now, you will die poor just like millions of others. This is not a curse. This is the inevitable sentence when you are chained to weak habits that kill every opportunity. Look around. How many young people do you see jumping from job to job, switching companies year after year, only to complain they are going nowhere? How many launch a YouTube channel, upload a few videos, nobody watches, and they quit? How many scream, "This year I will change," sign up for the gym, and vanish 2 months later? They are not poor because they lack opportunities. They are poor because they carry a disease within. The habit of quitting, abandoning, running away. Do you believe you are different from them? Wait until the end of this video to see the truth. I was once in that exact place. At 22, I had nothing. No assets, no career. No one believed I could achieve anything great. But 7 years later, I had sold 3 companies I had built from scratch. Not because I was lucky, not because I was smarter, but because I learned to cut off 5 toxic habits the crowd clings to like a religion. Have you ever wondered why the more you switch jobs, switch directions, switch goals, the less progress you make? How many times have you waited for someone else's approval before daring to act? How many times have you taken advice from people who never succeeded, only to repeat their mediocre lives? Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are willing to give up their own power in exchange for a little short-term peace. That is the tragedy. You choose comfort now, only to trade away freedom for life. But from this moment on, you don't need a new job, nor do you need new luck. You only need the courage to face the 5 habits that have turned you into a slave, and I will show you how to break them once and for all. Before moving forward, be honest. Recall one thing you once abandoned. It could be a skill, a project, or a dream. Write it down. Don't avoid it, because the moment you name your true enemy, you begin to take back power from its hands. These are not gentle tips to make you feel good. This is a power strategy. And power belongs only to those ruthless enough to face the truth. So choose right now. Will you move forward with me, or will you stop? Just like the millions before you, nothing kills potential faster than the habit of quitting. A brilliant idea doesn't die because of the market. It dies because you pulled out too soon. A beautiful relationship doesn't end because of lack of opportunity. It ends because you didn't have the patience to endure the harsh days. Look around. At the beginning of the year, millions sign up for the gym. They shout, "This year, I will change." 2 months later, the gym is empty. Only a handful remain. Online, thousands of YouTube channels are created every day. Excitement, passion. But after 10 videos with no views, the creators disappear. In crypto, people pour all their savings into a new coin. hoping to change their lives overnight. But when the market bleeds red, they delete the app and pretend they never joined. They didn't fail because they lacked opportunity. They failed because they never went far enough to reach results. Machiavelli once wrote, "The man who changes sides whenever he meets obstacles will never have a side." The job hoppers, the goal switchers in the end, all they are left with is empty hands and bitter souls. The truth is that every path has a death zone. At the beginning, you're filled with excitement. That's the stage of blind optimism. But then, reality slaps you. Harder than you thought, longer than you expected, harsher than you prepared for. That's when you fall into the stage of informed pessimism, the valley of death, where the majority collapse. The place where fragile dreams are buried. Have you ever fallen into that valley? How many times did you start with fire in your chest, only to lose hope when results didn't come instantly? How many times did you look in the mirror and whisper, "Maybe this isn't for me"? How many times did you kill your own chances just because you couldn't handle boredom and loneliness? Do you think the rich are smarter than you? No. They simply stayed longer than you. Imagine this. You are building a bridge. Each day you lay a few bricks. 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. But just before finishing, with only a few pillars left, you quit. Another person comes, picks up the bricks you abandoned, continues, and crosses to the other side. You watch bitterly, thinking they were lucky, when the truth is, they just held on a little longer. I remember my early days in business. My company had nothing but an old desk and a second-hand laptop. Many times, I wanted to quit. Many times, I told myself, maybe I should just get a job like everyone else. But every time, I asked, if I quit now, will someone else pick up this idea and turn it into millions? That fear of seeing others enjoy the fruit of my sweat kept me in the game. And then time became my weapon. While others quit, I stayed, and I won. Ask yourself, how many dreams have you abandoned just because they didn't bloom immediately? How many pieces of your soul are buried in the graveyard of the weak? How many times have you killed your ambition with 2 simple words? I quit. Can you bear this scene? Tomorrow you quit your job, your project, your dream, and your rival laughs with joy as you vanish from the game. Could you live with that? The brutal truth is this: success does not belong to the smartest. It belongs to those who last the longest. When you complain and give up, they endure 1 more year. When you cry about hardship, they grit their teeth and move forward. When you seek comfort, they choose pain. And in the end, time separates 2 kinds of people: slaves of quitting and masters of success. Machiavelli would never comfort you. He wouldn't say, "It's fine, take a break." He would look at you coldly and say 1 sentence: "He who cannot endure hardship deserves only the life of a slave." So look in the mirror. Do you carry this habit inside you? Don't lie to yourself. If you do, then declare right now, "I will not quit anymore." This isn't just a sentence, it's a vow. And a public vow carries more weight than a secret promise. Remember, quitting doesn't just take away opportunities. It steals your trust in yourself. Every time you abandon something, you send a message to your subconscious: I'm not strong enough. That message, repeated, enslaves you to weakness. But when you choose not to quit even without results, you send a different message: I cannot be broken. And slowly, the world begins to believe in you, because you've learned to believe in yourself. Ask yourself 1 question. If life were a chess match lasting 10 years, would you have the patience to sit until the final move? Or would you walk away halfway, leaving the board to your opponent? The graveyard of the weak is already full of abandoned dreams. Don't let your name be carved on it. If you dare to continue, we will face an even more dangerous enemy. An invisible prison where you lock the door yourself and swallow the key. The habit of living in the approval of others. There is a kind of chain you cannot see, yet it is stronger than any iron bars. The need for others' approval. You don't dare take a step until your parents nod. You don't dare speak until your friends applaud. You don't dare live truthfully until society claps for you. And so, your entire life is locked inside an invisible prison, one in which you are the jailer. Picture this. Have you ever wanted to make a big decision, but picked up your phone and texted your closest friends? Do you think I should do it? Have you ever had a bold idea, but erased it after a few negative comments online? Have you ever prepared to change your life, but one shake of the head from a family member stopped you? If so, be honest. You have turned your life into a play, where others sit as the audience and you are just a mediocre actor, living only for their applause. I was once there. The day I decided to leave my hometown with only 5-0 and sheer willpower, no one believed I would survive. My father said it was madness. My friends said I would fail and crawl back home. My relatives told me to settle down. Had I listened to them, I wouldn't be standing here. I would still be a shadow in my own life. But what about you? Look around. How many young people dreamed of starting a business but quit because their parents said, "It's not stable"? How many women wanted to travel far but stopped because their boyfriend whispered, "It's too dangerous. I don't want you to try"? How many men wanted to make a difference but backed down because their friends mocked? "You're too unrealistic." And you? How many times have you killed an opportunity simply because you feared the eyes of others? You think approval is a shield? Wrong. It is a chain. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who gives his power to others will have it used against him to rule him." Every time you wait for approval, you're not just asking for advice, you are handing your crown to someone else. Imagine this. You have a burning dream, but instead of moving forward, you stand frozen, trembling, waiting for the audience in the theater to nod. If they clap, you continue. If they stay silent, you walk off the stage. That means your entire life is nothing more than a side role, never your own script. And here is the question. Do those you're waiting for actually live the life you want? Are the ones you ask permission from truly free, wealthy, powerful? Or are they trapped in small, fearful lives and using their fear to bind you? If the answer is no, why are you still kneeling for their approval? Ask yourself, are you living inside this invisible prison? Have you grown so used to needing a nod for every step you take? And if so, do you have the courage to admit it? Machiavelli would not comfort you. He would not pat your back and say, "It's okay, everyone needs approval." No. He would stare at you coldly and say, "Learn to permit yourself or accept living as a slave. And now it is time for you to choose." I want you to recall one major decision you abandoned simply because you feared others' disapproval. It could have been a job, a project, a relationship, or a journey. Remember the moment you backed away. And right now, I want you to write it down. I once gave up, just because I was waiting for approval. Don't hide it. Let everyone under this video see it, because the moment you publicly admit it, you take back a piece of power from the chains of approval. Can you imagine the feeling? The moment you do what you want despite the disapproval, and those who mocked you are forced into silence as you succeed. That taste is sweeter than all applause. And don't you want to taste it? If so, declare right now, "I will permit myself." Write it down, not for me, for you. To turn this declaration into a weapon against the fear in your mind. Imagine a different tomorrow. You wake up, make an important decision, and instead of texting someone for approval, you tell yourself, "I've chosen, and I will do it." From that moment, you walk with a freedom most people will never know. But if you keep waiting, keep begging, keep living like a puppet, then even when greatness knocks, you will never step out to claim it. Machiavelli once said, "He who chooses safety dies in mediocrity. He who chooses danger has the chance to become great." And now, the choice is yours. Write it down right now. What have you once given up just because you feared no one would approve? And if you are bold enough, add this vow. From now on, I will permit myself. It is once safe. That will be your first step to break the invisible chains and begin living as a free man. And when you are strong enough to escape this prison, we will face an even more dangerous mistake: the addiction to chasing investments. While you yourself are not yet strong enough to create wealth, there is an addiction spreading silently, killing millions of young people. The addiction to investing before knowing how to make money. Have you seen this? Your friends rush into stocks, crypto, newly launched coins, monkey NFTs, hoping to change their lives. They believe that if they just play the right bet, they'll get rich fast. But then the market bleeds red, their accounts evaporate, and they vanish in bitterness. The truth is, they never really lost money because coins dropped. They lost because from the beginning, they never had the skill to create value. Ask yourself, have you ever searched 5 ways to invest to get rich quick on YouTube? Have you ever hesitated to spend a few $100s on a skill course, but eagerly threw thousands into a coin you didn't even understand? Have you ever sat back, dreaming your account would grow 10 times bigger, while in reality, you've never even figured out how to consistently make 1,000? You cannot multiply money if you don't even know how to make money. That is not investing. That is gambling. I remember my early years. I had no capital to buy stocks, real estate, or crypto. But I had one investment opportunity, the only one: myself. I poured every little dollar into books, courses, mentors. I cut off luxury watches, expensive clothes, meaningless parties. Everything went into betting on a new version of myself. And that investment gave me the greatest return: a stronger, sharper, wealthier man. Meanwhile, I saw many people my age. They threw thousands into coins but hesitated to spend hundreds to learn sales. They risked money in the market but wouldn't risk time to build a skill. That's not intelligence, that's avoiding reality. Machiavelli once emphasized, "Do not rely on fortune. Make yourself too powerful to be ignored." The man with skills can recreate wealth whenever he chooses. The man without skills can only pray for luck. Imagine this. If I took 1,000 from you today, could you multiply it into 10,000 using only your skills? If the answer is no, why do you expect the market to do it for you? The rich don't chase waves, they build ships. The poor do the opposite. They don't learn to row, don't prepare skills. They just jump into the sea when they hear the crowd cheering. And then they drown in their own greed. Do you see yourself in that image? Are you standing on the shore, waiting for the get-rich wave, but holding no paddle in your hand? And if that's true, do you dare admit it? If you cannot invest in yourself, stop dreaming of investing in anything else. Think back on the past few years. How many times did you hesitate to pay for a course, but spent double on coins? How many times did you skip upgrading your skills just to chase market rumors? How many times did you treat yourself, the only true asset you have, as the least valuable investment? If you are brave enough, write it down right now. What skill will you invest in this year to multiply your value tenfold? Don't hide. Write it and declare it publicly. Because the moment you go public, you force yourself to be accountable. Imagine the feeling a year from now, when you look back at your own comment under this video and realize you actually made it happen. How proud would you feel? And on the other hand, if you do nothing, could you bear looking back and seeing yourself as just another empty promise? In this world, money is not just money. Money is power. And power only comes to those who make themselves into an irreplaceable asset. Don't be a blind gambler. Be the strategist who knows every move. Machiavelli would never tell you, "Trust in luck." He would coldly say, "Bet on yourself," or accept living as a loser. So what will you do? Will you keep chasing investments like an addict? Or will you stop and build yourself? Write it down. I will invest in the skill you commit to mastering. And remember, a comment may be a joke to others, but for you, it can be the vow that opens a new path. When you are strong enough, money will come to you. But if you remain weak, even in a booming market, you'll always be just another losing gambler. The choice is yours. Continue drowning in addiction, or begin laying the foundation to truly become unstoppable. And once you dare to bet on yourself, we will face an even more poisonous enemy. Bad advice from the poor, the failures, the ones who never went far, yet still tell you how to live. One of the most foolish yet common mistakes people make is asking for advice from those who have never achieved what they want. You ask your parents who have spent their entire lives working for a paycheck about how to start a business. You ask a friend who's never made 6 figures about how to invest. And then, you live the same mediocre life they do. Be honest. How many times have you heard a failure say, "Don't try that, it's too risky, too hard"? How many times have relatives told you, "Just settle down, get a safe job"? How many times have you swallowed your ambition just to avoid hearing, "You're being unrealistic"? And in the end, you live exactly like them. A small, settled life, never touching power. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who lives among the weak learns to bow. He who lives among the strong learns to rule." If you want to know your future, just look at your circle. That is the ceiling you will never rise above. Think back to your childhood. What were you taught about money? Don't take risks. Be stable. Don't be too ambitious. You believed it because it came from people you loved. But look at their lives. Are they wealthy, free, powerful? Or are they just surviving, waiting for retirement, convincing themselves this is happiness? Listening to the poor about how to get rich is like asking the blind for directions. Today, this stupidity spreads faster than ever. Someone starts a business, fails, and shouts online, "Entrepreneurship is a mistake." A YouTuber posts 10 videos, quits, and preaches, "YouTube doesn't work." A coin trader loses everything, then declares, "Investing is a scam." And you believe them. You let quitters define your destiny. Take a look in the mirror. The person whose advice you follow most, are they really living the life you dream of? Are they richer, stronger, freer than you? If the answer is no, why are you letting them steer your ship? I was once like that. I grew up surrounded by poor dad's men who only knew how to work to survive. If I had listened to them, I'd be dead inside the coffin of stability. But I chose to leave Michigan for California. There, just sitting in a cafe, I heard people discussing million-dollar deals. Just walking down the street, I saw men who considered $1 million a year normal. And from that moment, my standards changed forever. Do you see it? Your standards are shaped by those you are around the most. If you only surround yourself with people who believe the 50,000 a year is the peak, your brain will lock that in as the limit. But when you step into an environment where 1 million is the minimum, you cannot settle for less. So ask yourself, who is shaping your financial mindset? Who is feeding you these safe pieces of advice? Are they truly the role model you want to become? Better to listen to no one than to listen to the wrong person. Some will say, "But I don't know anyone rich." That's just an excuse. Today, you can learn from anyone. Through books, videos, courses, you can access wealthy thinking on the very screen you're holding now. The problem is not opportunity. It's that you still choose the familiar voices of those who never escaped poverty. Machiavelli would never say, "At least listen to them to make them happy." He would coldly say, "Listening to the wrong people is betrayal of yourself." Picture this. You're steering a boat out to sea. Your companion, who has never left the shore, keeps shouting, "Don't go too far, the waves will drown you." If you listen, you turn back, returning to the safe sand. But if you dare ignore them, keep rowing, you might just see a new horizon. The question is, do you want to spend your life on the sand or dare to set sail for the ocean? Right now, recall one foolish piece of advice you once believed from someone who never achieved what you want. Write it down. Expose how you were influenced, and then add a vow. I will only listen to those living the life I desire. Can you imagine it? The feeling of silencing fearful voices, and for the first time, walking to the sound of your own call. That feeling is like tearing off a mask you've worn your entire life. If you have the courage, write this below the video. I need a new circle. Because the moment you admit it, you start breaking the invisible ceiling. And when you are ruthless enough to cut off wrong advice, you will be ready to face an even harsher truth. Sometimes, the one who destroys you isn't your parents, your friends, or your co-workers. The one who destroys you may be lying right beside you, whispering in your ear every night. That is the final toxic habit, choosing the wrong partner. Nothing destroys a person faster than choosing the wrong one to lie beside. Money can be lost and earned again. Opportunities can vanish, and new ones can appear. But the wrong partner can drain your ambition, crush your strength, and turn you from a warrior into a prisoner inside your own home. Look around you. How many talented employees, full of hunger, wither away because their lover doesn't like them working too much? How many young women with huge potential miss promotions because their husband says, "That job makes you too busy, just stay home"? How many men with big ideas sit still because their wife whispers, "Don't take the risk, I'm afraid you'll fail"? And day by day, the light in their eyes fades. Not because they are weak, but because the one beside them plants fear and doubt in their minds. Machiavelli once warned, "The most dangerous enemy is not the one with a sword before you, but the one who whispers in your ear each night." You can fight enemies outside, but if the one beside you pulls you down, you've lost before you even begin. Be honest. Does the person lying next to you today make you stronger or weaker? After being with them, do you feel ready to conquer the world or to retreat into a safe shell? Do they fuel your ambition or lull you with sweet words that rob you of it? The right partner will make you more dangerous, not harmless. In this world, money is not just money. Money is power, and power reveals human nature. If your partner fears your wealth, fears your strength, fears your options, they will try to hold you down. Because when you have power, you have freedom. And when you have freedom, they fear you might leave. Instead of building with you, they destroy to keep you beneath them. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever turned down an opportunity because the one you love said, "Don't do it, I'm scared"? Have you ever swallowed poison disguised as sweet words, keeping yourself small just to comfort them? Have you ever felt deep inside that the one beside you doesn't want you to become your strongest self? If yes, then admit it. You are sleeping next to a chain. Machiavelli would never say, "Endure it for the sake of loyalty." He would say coldly, "If the one beside you makes you weaker, treat them as a traitor." Imagine a different tomorrow. You get a big opportunity, a contract, an idea, a door to change your life. You want to jump in, but the one lying next to you whispers, "Don't try. It's risky. I don't want you to fail." What will you choose, the opportunity or their comfort? And if you choose them over your dream, will you ever forgive yourself? The wrong partner can kill you faster than any bad investment. Face the truth. Love cannot pay the price of weakness. The right partner pushes you further, never holds you back. The right partner sees your ambition and says, "Go. I'll be here when you return." The right partner takes pride in your strength, not fear of it. So ask yourself, is the one beside you an ally or a chain? Do they feed your hunger or kill it day by day? Right now, I want you to write under this video, "The one beside me is an ally," or "The one beside me is a chain." Don't hide. The moment you go public, you will see the truth you've been avoiding. And if you realize you're living with a chain, remember, Chains were made to be broken, not embraced. Imagine the feeling of escaping a suffocating relationship and for the first time in years, breathing free air. That feeling is like stepping out of a dark room you once thought was home into sunlight hitting your eyes for the first time. That is the reward for those ruthless enough to face the truth. Machiavelli would look at you and say, "Better to be alone and strong than to share a bed with one who makes you weak." Remember, the wrong partner doesn't just take away opportunities. They take your ambition, your confidence, and your soul. And if you let that happen, you may never get them back. So write it down right now. I choose allies, not chains. This will be your vow to begin redefining who deserves to stay beside you and who must go. And when you are ruthless enough to face this truth, you'll be ready for the final chapter, where we sum up the 5 toxic habits and open the path to becoming untouchable. Being poor is easy. Just live by emotion. Quit when it gets hard. Wait for others to nod before you move. Listen to people who have never succeeded. Chain yourself to a partner who fears your strength. Do these things, and you'll stay poor forever. No fate, no bad luck. Just a straight road to mediocrity. Being rich is hard. It forces you to swallow bitterness. It demands that you endure boredom, loneliness, and hardship. It makes you stand alone in the face of disapproval. It requires you to cut off weak relationships and break sweet chains. But because it is hard, the reward is worthy. Not just money, but power, freedom, and a life you control instead of being controlled. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who chooses safety will die in mediocrity. He who chooses danger has the chance to become great." And now, you must choose. Picture yourself 10 years from now, looking back on today. Will you be proud that you broke your chains, or regret that you listened to the weak voices around you? Will you laugh with pride for daring to walk forward, or sigh inside a small room, resigned, admitting you never truly lived? Don't lie to yourself that you have time. Every day you delay, you hand over another piece of your power. And by the end, when opportunities are gone, you'll understand you wrote your own death sentence of poverty. Power is never given. It only belongs to those strong enough to take it. Right now, you have a choice. Keep living like a puppet, or start taking back the strings. Keep being a slave to the 5 toxic habits, or start breaking them to become untouchable. So ask yourself directly, among these 5 habits, quitting, seeking approval, blind investment addiction, listening to the poor, and choosing the wrong partner, which one is keeping you a prisoner? And which one will you break first? Write it down right now. Not for me, for you. To turn that writing into a vow. To force yourself to be accountable to your decision. I want you to do something simple. Comment under this video with one sentence, "I will break the habit of," and fill in the blank with the most painful truth you just realized. The moment you dare to declare it, you've already taken half a step out of the invisible prison. Imagine the feeling 1 year from now, reading your own comment and smiling, "I did it." Do you want that feeling? Or will you look back a year later and whisper bitterly, "If only"? You already know the answer, and it makes you uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the signal that you need change. Machiavelli would never pat your back to comfort you. He would look you in the eye and say, "Be ruthless with weakness, or accept a life of being ruled." This is not a beautiful philosophy meant to soothe you. This is a strategy of power, and power only belongs to those who choose the hard road. You've learned to identify the 5 habits that kill your strength and wealth, but that's just the beginning. To truly become untouchable, you must reprogram your mind, turning pain into discipline, failure into fuel, and yourself into a weapon that no one can break. In the next video, I'll show you how I brainwashed myself to become dangerous and uncontrollable. If you're bold enough, don't miss it. And now, the final question for you. Will you keep living as a slave to your habits, Or will you begin to live as the ruler of your own life? You have just completed the Machiavelli Power Marathon, a brutal journey that only a rare few have the discipline to finish. If you are still here, it means you are no longer the same. You have proven that your mind is colder, sharper, and stronger than the crowd. But don't mistake this as the end. This is only the beginning. From today on, you are no longer just surviving. You are rising to dominate. To mark this moment, write one line in the comments. I endure, I rise. Because when you declare it publicly, you are no longer just a viewer, you have entered the game of power. And remember, this game has only just begun.